started. I know there'll be more people coming in because we've decided to rebuild a brand new building. But I want to welcome you to now the very last class for this semester's open classroom. I know some of you... was there anybody here who was for our very first class way back in September? All right. Fantastic. So this is the final class. But before we do that, can I go back to the old slide?
The food one?
The food slide. Okay. As I think many of you know who've been here over the last 3 or 4 weeks, we've announced what we're going to do with the open classroom beginning January 11th. And that is, it's going to be devoted to the whole issue, as you see, of food and American society, an urban perspective. And I love the subtitle, What We Eat, Why, Where It Comes From, and How It All Matters Every Day. And in fact, today, the main convener of that course, Chris Basso, our Associate Dean of our School of Public Policy, gave us a kind of a overview of the people he's invited for next semester, and I cannot wait to be a student next semester watching this course. I must tell you that when this topic first came up, and I happen to enjoy food, I turned to the staff and I said, this will never go. Who would come to hear about food? Well, we expect this may be the most popular topic we've ever covered. And so I hope you'll come back, bring your friends, bring your appetites, because this is really quite extraordinary when you think about food in all its important dimensions. From the point of view of where it comes from to how it affects our culture, how culture determines food, how food determines culture, dealing with questions of diet, obesity, health, urban agriculture, farms in the city, and everything in between. So today, we're actually going to finish off this class, and Professor Burns and I are going to be your main speakers. And what we're going to do is something I'm going to try, and I'm not sure this is going to work. But what I'm going to do very quickly, to start off our conversation, is to go through, as much as I can, the things that government does. What is the role of government in the 21st century? And as you know, all through this semester we've been talking about various roles of government, historically, our theories about what government should do, what it shouldn't, what should be left to the market, what should be in government. We reviewed alternative theories of this, from Milton Friedman, our very conservative University of Chicago economist, to Ken Galbraith, our fairly liberal Harvard economist. We looked at the whole question of the great trade-off between efficiency and equity. We then looked at the role of government in a whole range of things, from regulation to support of the private sector to the arts and so forth. I decided to go back and say, as a beginning of what I hope will be a town hall conversation in this last class, of saying, well, what does government actually do now? And the reason for that is that all kinds of people in Congress are now talking about the need for a dramatic decline or diminishing of the size of government. And I guess one of the questions I want to ask is, okay, if we're going to really reduce the size of government, what do we want to get rid of? What do we want to get rid of? Pardon? Yeah. And so let's take a look at what government does. So I have pulled together as much data as I could on what government does by agency, right? And we're going to take a look at that. And then at the end, thanks to our executive director, John Sarvey, we've pulled up something from the New York Times that we're going to look at, which has to do with what the budget cuts might be looking like by agency for what programs, and let's see what that looks like. So let's look at the many roles of government. And I'm going to do this by looking at the federal government, the state, and then the local government. And again, I'm not going to talk about any theory here. I'm not going to talk about anything but just here's what we've got. And I'm going to go through this staccato-like, okay? So these are the major functions of the federal government if you actually go through the budget. Provide for the national defense. Establish and adjudicate private property rights. I mean, after all, when we started the country, we started moving west. We had all this land that we stole. And then we started giving it away and selling it off. It was the government that was selling off to the private sector, not the other way around. And then we had to adjudicate private property rights, not just property in terms of physical property, land, but now, of course, things like intellectual property. You know, who has a right to a patent? Who has the right to a license, a copyright? For how long? Who controls that? Government does. We need to ensure compliance with the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. We have a Justice Department, a Supreme Court that is presumably part of government, presumably doing that. We established a national currency. It's called the dollar. This is a government-sponsored activity. If we didn't have the government sponsoring currency, who would? We provide for national economic policy to maintain economic growth, full employment, and stable prices. We do that through the establishment of the Federal Reserve, which acts primarily through manipulating interest rates, buying and selling of treasuries, and we do it through the executive branch and the legislative branch, through tax policy and spending policy, attempting to smooth out what might otherwise be fairly violent gyrations in the economy, as we've seen many times in our history. We provide for national infrastructure to assure transportation and communications, the interstate highway system, the post office, regulating a lot of communications through the Federal Communications Commission, radio, television, internet, cell phone. Who's going to divide up the spectrum? Who gets what? We assure public health through all kinds of policies, both in terms of overall public health, making sure that we have safe drinking water, making sure we have safe air, but also personal health. We collect taxes, and we need an agency in government to do that. It's called the Internal Revenue Service, in order to pay for government operations. Now, I would presume that there may be nothing on that list that we would want to do away with completely. How about state government? Well, provide for regional transportation, state roads in addition to interstate roads, ensure public safety and security. We have police forces, state police. We have jails. We have prisons. Provide for higher education. That's a state function. UMass Boston, the state universities, the community colleges. Assure K through 12 equity across municipalities. In the state, we have Chapter 70, in which we spend close to $4 billion a year providing individual municipalities with additional aid for their local school systems. We essentially fund the entire local K through 12 school system for the city of Lawrence. We promote economic development. We talked about that last week in terms of how much should government promote economic development, what tools should they use to do it. We try to ensure the public health. We have a strong Department of Public Health which tries to do that at the state level. We regulate the energy sector in terms of regulating energy costs, electric costs, and so forth. We protect the state environment. We erect parks. We keep those parks up and running. We encourage the production of affordable housing through such things as Chapter 40R, 40S, Chapter 40B. We provide unemployment insurance for those people who have lost their jobs. We provide workers' compensation for those people who are injured on the job. And indeed, things like workers' compensation are things we do to protect the private employer, because in the absence of workers' compensation, individual employees could sue their employers if they believe their employers are liable for any injuries on the job. How about the major functions of local government? Well, again, ensure public safety, police, fire protection, promote K through 12 education, which historically has been a local responsibility, promote public health at the local level. We have a Department of Public Health at the city. We have it in the state. We have it in the federal government. Regulate the use of property through zoning laws, promote local economic development. For instance, the way the mayor of Boston is promoting the South Boston waterfront and the development there. Provide water and sewer services, Deer Island, clean water, a way of getting rid of waste without destroying the harbor. Regulate local private monopolies, cable TV, for example, and so forth. So there's a lot of things we're doing, and you should keep in mind all those that you want to get rid of. Well, I decided let's look at these in a little bit more detail. So let's take a look at the Cabinet of the United States of America, the current cabinet in terms of its agency. We have a Department of Agriculture, We have a Department of Commerce, of Defense. We have the Department of Defense Inspector General. We have the Department of Education, the Department of Energy, Department of Health and Human Services, the Department of Homeland Security, the newest department, the Department of Housing and Urban Development, the Department of Justice, Labor, State, Interior, Treasury, and Transportation. And then the Department of Veterans Affairs. Just giving you a range of ideas, and all of these, with the exception of the Department of Defense Inspector General, have cabinet status. State government departments. And I took this off of the Massachusetts website. Administration, and these are the cabinet positions that the present governor has, Governor Deval Patrick. The Administration and Finance, which is responsible for the budget. Education. The Department of Energy and Environment, those two are in one office. Department of Health and Human Services, Housing and Economic Development, those two were put together under the current administration. Labor and Workforce Development, Public Safety and Security, Transportation, and Transportation. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 major departments at the state level after all those cabinets level government at the federal level. And then we can look at Boston city departments, and I took this off of the City of Boston website. Those are the ones just A through C. In fact, in our system of government, perhaps unlike France, for example, we put most things at the local level. And then those things that can't be done at the local level, we move up to the state level. And those things that can't be performed effectively and efficiently at the state level, like national defense, State Department, we move up to the national level. So everything from animal control to arts, tourism, assessing, auditing, the Boston Bike Program, Centers for Youth and Family, Housing Authority, Licensing Board, the Main Street Program, Public Health Commission, the Library, the BRA. These are D through O, right? Another phenomenal list: Environment and Energy Services, the Fire Department, Human Resources, Intergovernmental Relations, Jobs and Community Services, Labor Relations, negotiating a contract with the Boston Teachers Union, Office of New Bostonians to deal with immigrants. And here are P through Z. So there's a pretty good group, ending up with Zoning Board of Appeals. So again, we're talking about a huge number of agencies, a huge number of behind the agencies, a huge number of functions that we ask government to perform for us. Well, let's delve down even deeper. Turns out there's a website in which the federal government lists every single government agency, department that exists. I was able, over a period of about 3 hours, to get through the letter M. Okay? So, and then what I did is I divided them into main categories. So here are some of the ones that just have to do with providing for national defense. The Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the Marine Corps, and the Coast Guard. Each of them a sizable institution. The National Guard. Special Forces. The CIA. Missile Defense Agency. Oh, the State Department. Agency for International Development, USAID. Arms Control and International Security. The Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, DARPA, of which we get funds for our research. The Helsinki Commission, Commission on Security and Cooperation in Europe, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, the National Security Council. And then I ran out of time, so I don't have any of them past the letter N, just in terms of national defense. Assist the private economy. We do all kinds of things to assist the private economy. We establish rules for private property. We have a copyright office, a patent office. We adjudicate property disputes in the courts. Land, physical assets, intellectual property. We have a commerce department in order to promote commerce and to make sure that commerce can take place across states with little interference. We have the Federal Reserve System, a small little system we have to try and keep the economy from imploding. The Bureau of Engraving and Printing, they are the ones who do the money. The Antitrust Division, the Federal Trade Commission, bankruptcy courts, the Court of Federal Claims, the Economic Development Administration. I'm only up to E. Export-Import Bank, the Farm Credit Administration, the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, the Federal National Mortgage Association, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, Ginnie Mae, the Federal Housing Finance Agency, and the Federal Mediation and Conciliation Service, set up as an independent agency reporting to the President to help solve disputes under the National Labor Relations Act, which was established in 1935. The federal government is also supposed to provide basic infrastructure. Federal Highway Administration, Federal Aviation Administration, the Federal Railroad Administration, the Federal Transit Administration for local and commuter transit, the Maritime Administration, Amtrak, railway stations, local mass transit, commuter rail, U.S. Postal Service, Federal Communications Commission, Army Corps of Engineers, Bonneville Power Administration, Federal Maritime Commission, and I ran out of time. We believe we should be having the government help enhance human capital and culture. Public schools, the Office of Elementary and Secondary Education in the federal government to help with that. The Employment and Training Administration, we'll come back to that in a few minutes. Vocational training programs, employment services, Commission on Fine Arts. The Holocaust Memorial Museum is a federal government institution. The John F. Kennedy Center for Performing Arts is a federal government institution. The Library of Congress, the National Science Foundation. We also believe the government should provide for health. The National Institutes of Health, the Agency for Healthcare Research and Quality, the Animal and Plant Health Inspection System Service, the Center for Food Safety and Applied Nutrition, Centers for Disease Control, the CDC, Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services that oversee Medicare and Medicaid, small little programs we have that help a few people here and there, Food and Drug Administration, Food Safety and Inspection Service, Healthy Homes and Lead Hazard Control Office, Indian Health Service, the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, and I ran out of time. Protect the natural environment, the Environmental Protection Agency, National Parks, National Forests, Bureau of Land Management, Bureau of Reclamation, the Fish and Wildlife Service, Forest Service, Migratory Bird Conservation Commission. We believe that the federal government should provide information to its citizens. The Food and Drug Administration does that. The vehicle safety information, vehicle efficiency data, when you go and buy a new car, tells you what you should get in terms of gas mileage. That's a federal government agency that does that. The Agricultural Research Service, Agricultural Department itself, the Bureau of Consumer Financial Protection, the Bureau of Economic Analysis that helps us understand what's happening to the economy, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, which provides us with numbers like the unemployment rate on the first Friday of every month, the Bureau of the Census, which not only keeps track of how many people there are every 10 years, but now has the American Community Survey that gives us data every year. Bureau of Transportation Statistics, the Congressional Budget Office, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, the Consumer Product Safety Commission, Government Accountability Office, Government Printing Office, Legal Services Corporation, National Weather Service. We like all of those too, don't we? Provide for domestic safety, the FBI, Federal Bureau of Prisons, police, firefighters, EMTs, building inspectors, courts, jails, prisons, Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms and Explosives Bureau, the Bureau of Prisons, the Civilian Radioactive Waste Management, Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center, the Federal Mine Safety and Health Review Commission, Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, Federal Marshal Service, Mine Safety and Health Administration, and the National Highway Traffic Administration. And then we have citizenship services. The Bureau of Citizenship and Immigration Services, the Bureau of Indian Affairs, Citizenship and Immigration Services, I have that twice, Commission on Civil Rights, the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, Fair Housing and Equal Opportunity, the Federal Election Commission, etc., etc., etc. So what does government do for you? We fail to recognize that more than 10% of all the things we ask government to do, more than 10% of all the things we ask government to do for us. If you asked me before I did this list, I would have probably remembered about 10% of it, right? If citizens understood all the things government does for us, would they be as quick to criticize government as to see it shrink? If citizens who argue for cutting government were given a choice, which agency would they overwhelmingly wish to eliminate? So here we have something the New York Times has done for us, and thanks to John, it gives us an idea of what is the size of various government functions, and also under the Obama budget, I believe, what is scheduled for possible cuts in the budget. So if you look here under Health and Human Services, this big box over here, you'll see that the green means no cuts or increases over the next next year. The darker the green, the larger the increase. And the reds give you some idea of what will happen in terms of cuts and where we're going to have those cuts. The larger the box, the larger the federal program. The smaller the box, the smaller the program. The darker the green, those are programs that we are going to see an increase in spending on. The darker the pink, or even red, the larger the cuts. John, do you know how we can roll over this? Just click on it with the forward click? Whoop. Oh, right, this, right? So if we go over here, all right, well, we can't quite see all of it. But so if we see here Health and Human Services, thank you very much, you'll see that the amount for the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid, the amount we're projected to spend in fiscal year 2012, that will end next year, $1.11 trillion, or about $9,700 per household, and that is expected to increase by 3.1% between fiscal 2011 versus fiscal 2012, right? We can go down here to the Social Security Administration. That's about an $808 billion program, right? Some of you in the room may be collecting from that program. It's about $7,100 per household. That's how big that program is. And it is expected to increase by 8.5% in nominal terms in a single year. We can go over to particular programs like Health Resources and Services Administration. This is one of those discretionary programs that's liable to be cut. And that is about a $6.8 billion program. And under this budget, we're going to cut 9.1% out of it, right? Or we could go over to Health and Human Services Centers for Disease Control, right? This is the CDC, right? We're talking about a 9% cut in a budget that we spend about $52 per year per household, okay? So we could go over here to defense. Well, here is operations and maintenance. That's about a $294 billion program. That's our main military spending. That is going to grow a tiny bit. We're spending about $2,600 per household on that defense. If we look, however, at procurement, buying new tanks, buying new fighter jets, that's about $128 billion a year we buy in terms of procuring everything from aircraft carriers to food. That's going to have about a 6% cut according to the budget. If we come down here to military construction, we're going to cut that by 42%. So that takes a pretty good hit. On the other hand, if we look at military personnel, that's about $5.5 billion to pay for military personnel. Mandatory spending, that's going to go up by 21.2% in a year. Okay? Come down here to agriculture. Here is our Food and Nutrition Service. Here's one place we're going to have an increase. This is probably due to Mrs. Obama, who's been advocating for expansions in programs that deal with obesity in children. We spend about $917 per household, and that's scheduled to go up by 21.3% if the Obama budget is passed. Let's go down here to labor. So here we have the Employment and Training Administration, right? We've been saying here in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts that the future of the Commonwealth is based on continuing to build up our human capital, providing training programs, providing programs for not only K through 12, higher education, but vocational training, community colleges. Well, nationally, this has been about a $118 billion program, right? It's scheduled to be cut by half, right? Does that make sense? Is that what we want to do? We can go over here and look at veteran services, holding constant. These are benefits programs. If we look at health administration, that's going to go up by about 13 to 14% because of the explosion in healthcare costs. If we come down over here and we look at military retirement, we see a slight cut there. If we go over to Treasury, we see we're going to spend about 15% more simply to pay interest on the national debt. If we go over here, this is one that I found quite interesting, the Internal Revenue Service. This is what pays to collect our taxes, according to this budget. And we spend about $722 per household to collect taxes. We're actually going to cut that budget by 26%. I assume that means none of you in this auditorium, nor I, will have to worry about being audited next year, right? You come down here and you look at other offices, financial management up 93%. We can go over here to education, Office of Federal Student Aid. Here's where we expect to see some fairly large increases, so we kind of like that. On the other hand, we have other programs in student aid and in education that, according to this budget, will be cut. So, as we go through this, we can see that there is, now that we're in a period of major cuts to try and get the deficit under control, we see how at least the administration thinks it wants to cut the budget. Presumably, Republicans want to cut it in a different way. What do they want to cut out? What I'm hoping we'll do after Professor Burns presents a little bit on this is let's have a town meeting. Let's pretend we're the Congress, or let's pretend that we're the Massachusetts State Legislature. Alan Clayton Matthews, Professor Matthews, and I testified before the Joint House Ways and Means Committee just the day before yesterday on the whole question of what the budget will look like, or what the revenues will look like for the budget next year. Very, very little growth. We're going to have a very tight budget. We talked about what the out years might look like. There was a lot of variance of opinion. I was a little bit more pessimistic than some of my colleagues, but clearly we're not going to have anywhere near as much revenue as many of us in the room might like for the programs we think are important at the state level. Local communities have been hit hard through cuts in local aid here, and in other states hit so much harder than here. We're doing very well in Massachusetts compared with other states. California still faces a $20 billion deficit. They'll have cuts that are absolutely draconian. Rhode Island, we have a group of folks coming up from Rhode Island tomorrow to meet with me for all afternoon to talk about what's happening there. So, very, very interesting questions. We started out on the first class, what should be the role of government? We end up by saying, there are many roles of government. And now we want to ask you, following Professor Burns' remarks, okay, what would you like to see expand? What do you think should be cut? Should government be doing all these things? Indeed, are the things government should be doing that it isn't? Professor Burns.